So that's what I expected was gonna happen. I had an inkling, I just didn't want to say anything yet because I had a pretty good idea that because it had copied, you know, it shifted the perspective of the game to me as opposed to, or to the new suit as opposed to that, I had a feeling that it would continue the story of the game from the perspective of me that it was left behind. Therefore, it really hammers home, in case people didn't understand the concept that, you know, it's not actually a coin toss, it's literally just two different people at that point, but there it is, you know. Don't even get to see the inside of the Ark. All that, like, the whole thing of the game, and I was starting to, this is why I was getting anxious up to the point, because I feel like some people wouldn't understand the futility of it is actually the story. Like some people might say that this game ends with, like, it didn't matter what I did, but it did matter what you did. You just didn't feel the end result of what it mattered, and that's the point it's trying to make. Like, like, I love this game. I'm gonna say it right out. I love it. It's amazing. This was awesome. I loved everything about it. This game kept me engrossed. The philosophy of it, the scares of it, like, it was such a cool game, such a well-made game, such a well-made idea, and yet I fear that it will go over a lot of people's heads if they don't really wrap their head around the subject of the fact that, like, does it, no, not the fact, the question of does it matter, you know, if something's just a copy or if it's really alive. Because if something goes on to continue the purpose that it set out to do, but it's a copy of what originally set out to do it, does that really matter? Is what, like, what's the difference? So, oh man, that was such a cool game, and just, like, there's so few stories that don't, it's like it's almost a bittersweet ending, but not really, because the point it's trying to make is that it was, from the perspective of those that were left behind, it's not satisfying. But for those that were copied, it is. It's a story that could only exist in this universe that they created for this express purpose to ask this question, and that is so cool. I don't know if anything I said just made sense, but it's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. Everything about this was so cool. I love this game to death. This is, oh, it's such a cool game. I love this game to death. I mean, I've been trying to wrap my brain around how I'm gonna say my thoughts. Is it drifting apart? You drifting apart there? Is that what you're doing? Either way, so I just want to say this game was awesome. The experience that it gave was really, really something special. I wouldn't say it was like the scariest game I've ever played. I mean, it definitely had a lot of heart-pounding, like, tense moments, but, you know, as far as, like, pure scare, you know, it wasn't as scary as, like, some games I've played in the past, but still, it had a lot of scares. It had an incredibly complex and interesting story, like, intriguing to, like, as all hell is the only way I could describe it. It's just so cool, and I bet there's so many mysteries and little pieces of story that were, like, scattered about throughout the game, but, you know, in the end, it's actually interesting because the choices that I make don't really affect the outcome unless you think of the world as a continuation of what happens after the game. Because people often say that when a movie ends, the characters' lives still continue on, and the lives of this still carry on. It's just that, from my perspective, you know, they're not my concern anymore, but they still exist. You know what I mean? So that's the interesting thing about it. Like, the people on the Ark, they continue their existence, whatever that may be, digital or real, it continues. And then on Earth, because I didn't kill my old self, it's still on Omicron, and it'll wake up and it'll be very upset. And then, like, but in all reality, Simon died 100 years ago. Like, what does it all mean? So complex and so interesting. Like, the answers are really there for you to interpret for yourself. So they are what they are as you make them. Sorry, I can't stop playing with my bright pink hair. So either way, thank you everybody so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the series. I had a ton of fun playing it. I almost couldn't put it down. It is an amazing game. And if you want to play it for yourself, I highly recommend getting this game. It's not a $60 game. I think it's still $30 or maybe it's on sale. Either way, this game is awesome.